Hello, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
I'm very excited to be here.
As are we to interact with you.
And before we begin, I would first like to extend my deepest appreciation for allowing us to interact with ourselves through
Absolutely.
you as a permission slip.
It is our passion and our pleasure.
Throughout my physical life here, I had the exciting opportunity to experience deep and severe levels of negativity, suffering, depression, and pretty much everything in that category.
How exciting.
Indeed.
How brave and bold of you.
Thank you. I guess.
I know. Because you can use this now to your advantage. Remember, unless you haven't heard it before, what we call the rubber band analogy?
Yes, I'm aware of that.
Therefore, you understand, the farther you pull the band back into darkness, when you finally let go, it'll give you that much more momentum to fly that much faster into the light. So you were bold and strong enough to pull that band very far back. That means you have a lot of potential energy built up to go flying into the light. Wow. So that was bold of you.
I'm glad you mentioned that because it seems I'm still stretching backwards.
Do you want to let go?
Yes, and that's why I'm here.
And what it is in your belief system that stops you from letting go. What are you afraid will happen if you do let go and fly into the light and be the self you prefer to be? Yes?
I don't think I'm afraid. I just think I'm not able to identify a specific belief system that I have.
All right. Well, one moment. We use the term afraid, but this is what we mean by it. Do you remember us talking about the motivational mechanism and how that works? Would you like a recap?
Yes, please.
You all have a motivational mechanism. It works like this. It works all the time, immediately, without fail. There are no exceptions to this. You always choose in the direction of what you believe benefits you. Always, without fail. What you believe benefits you more than the alternative. You always move away from what you believe does not benefit you. So, what that tells you, if you understand that mechanism and how it works, is that if you are not letting go and moving in the direction you would prefer to, that can only mean you have a belief attached to staying where you are that makes staying where you are appear more beneficial than where it is you prefer to go. You need to find out what that belief is. And that usually translates as if you do let go, you're afraid that something will happen that you don't prefer to have happen. That's what we mean by being afraid. You are projecting, or the negative belief is convincing you that if you do let go and become who you prefer to be, that something worse and less beneficial will happen than simply remaining where you are. Does that make sense as a mechanism to you?
It does make sense, yes.
So you need to figure out what the belief could possibly be that would make staying where you are more beneficial or seem to be more beneficial than where it is you prefer to be. Do you have any clue as to what that might be?
Well, I have sharing, if I may,
Yes.
with an experience like that.
Yes.
So I went back and I analyzed most of my negative experiences that I had, and I realized that most of the times, if not always, they were self-inflicted.
All right, and? Because?
And then I went and I asked, why is that? And then I found the reason.
And that was?
The main reason for me is that I find myself attracted and passionate about the idea of falling in love with the wrong person 99% of the time.
Because?
Well, I don't know. That's
because
what
you don't deserve anything better?
Yeah, I think so.
So this is an issue of self-worth.
Well, if you ask me now, I feel like I deserve, but then I think it's something more deep inside that.
I know that you empirically know you do, but if you believe that you are not worthy of it, that is going to take precedence. That's exactly what I just described as the motivational mechanism. If the belief that you're unworthy is stronger than the belief that you deserve it, you will deprive yourself of what you deserve because that belief is stronger.
How do I shift the belief?
Well, find out why that belief would be stronger. Why does it seem safer, I'll use that term, to deny yourself what you deserve? Are you concerned that if you allow yourself to attract what you deserve, that something will go wrong with that? Or it won't be what you thought it would be?
Maybe.
Maybe. All right. Well, you have to be honest within yourself about these things. So, if you did allow yourself to attract what you deserve, what you know you do deserve, just by your existence, what do you imagine might go wrong?
I think it would be maybe too much of positive
Too
energy.
much positive energy.
Yeah, probably.
What would too much positive energy do to you?
I'm not sure. I haven't experienced it yet.
Yet you have an idea that it is something to avoid. So whether you have experienced it or not, you obviously have a belief about it that isn't benefiting you and prevents you from moving toward it. So what do you imagine too much positive energy might do? Blow the top of your head off or something?
Something like that, yeah.
So you're saying you can't handle that much positive energy?
I'm sure I can,
Are you?
at least empirically, as you said.
Well, but do you know it in your bones as true? Or is it just an intellectual concept for you?
It's just a concept.
Why isn't it in your bones? Why don't you know it to be true that you can handle it? I'll give you a hint, unless you can figure it out.
Please, go ahead.
All right. You have to look to your definitions of what it means to have positive energy, because you are creating a definition wherein having positive energy could possibly have something go against the positive energy, and that's not a definition of positive energy. You have a different definition. So you have to clarify and clean up your definition of what it is that's capable of happening when you create a positive state of being. Many people on your planet say exactly what you're saying. I would create a positive state of being, but I'm afraid that if I do, something negative will happen. That's not a definition of a positive state of being. Nothing negative can happen in a positive state of being. Even if it looks like it's negative, even if somebody else defines it as negative, you will know that by staying in a positive state of being, you can only extract a beneficial and positive effect from it, no matter how it was created, no matter how it looks, no matter what anyone tells you about it. You know that by staying in a positive state of being, you cannot be affected negatively. That's what you have to know is the definition of being in a positive state. Any other definition is not a definition of a positive state. So you have to be clear about how you're defining the concept of what's possible in a positive state. Yes?
Yes, and this is where intuition comes into place, and most of the times, actually, it never failed me.
Intuition can, but this is really just about knowledge. It's about knowing how things work. It's about understanding this literally almost from a physics point of view. You cannot experience what you're not the vibration of. It's simply not possible to experience something that you are not operating on the same wavelength as.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because there were cases when I felt extremely excited and positive and
Yes.
and everything was wonderful, and then the outcome was completely different.
That's because you are equating the idea of that outcome to being in the positive state, and that's not the case. I understand that physical reality and continuity can make it seem as if that was the outcome of the positive, excited state, but it wasn't. If you have an outcome that is actually truly negative, now I'm talking about something different than what you expect, because just because something unexpected happens doesn't mean it's negative. If you're labeling it as negative because you didn't get what you expected, that's the definition you need to change. But the idea is that if you do experience something negative after having been in a positive state, that negativity is not the result of the positive state. That negativity is the result of you leaving the positive state. And that means you applied a negative definition to what happened instead of a positive one. You can recognize that something that manifests may not be what you expected, may not even be what you prefer. But that's a neutral observation and does not insist that you have to define it in a negative way. You have to know that whatever happens in your life, whatever pops up, no matter how it looks, must be there for a positive reason. And if you stay in that frame of mind, you will be able to use even what you don't prefer in a way that you do prefer. That's how you use the negative positively. And then when you use it in a positive way, it will usually go away because you've used it up. There's no reason for it to hang around because you were willing to validate it as having a reason to be there that serves you, instead of assuming that just because something unexpected happened, something went wrong. That definition is what causes you to experience that something went wrong. The thing in and of itself doesn't have built-in negative meaning. Nothing has built-in meaning. You give it the meaning. Now, you may give it that meaning unconsciously and then see the negative result from the negative belief you applied to it so quickly you didn't even know you were doing it. But that's why it's so important to become aware of your definitions so that they don't catch you off guard by making it seem as if, well, that just happened out there. That's just because that's built into that situation. No, it never is. It's always coming from you. And therefore, you have a feedback mechanism that lets you know how to course correct and realign yourself and say, wait a minute. I don't have to automatically assume that just because I got something I didn't expect that that's a negative thing. Let me see how I can define this in a positive way that serves me. Catch yourself, stop yourself, find the definition that gave it the negative experience, that attached the negative experience to it, and let go of that definition and replace it with a more positive one so you can get a beneficial effect out of whatever happens. Because as we have said, and we'll say again now, it doesn't matter what happens. It only matters what you do with what happens. That's what makes the difference. Is this helping?
It is, and I have tried just that, but it feels like...
No, you haven't. Because if you say, I've tried it, you're saying that you still had an assumption and an insistence and an expectation of what the result was supposed to be. You don't know what the result needs to be until it shows up. And that's what shows you what it needed to be. So you have to let go of any insistence on what you think it's supposed to be. Do you understand?
Yes, it feels like the body sometimes just takes over the mind.
That is an excuse. And it comes from a negative belief because that's not true. You're buying into something as if it's a fact. Just because you feel it doesn't mean it's a fact. The fact that you feel like the body sometimes takes over is one of the tools the negative belief uses to convince you you don't have the power to change. You have to see through the lie, the smoke and mirrors of the tools the negative belief uses. It's not doing it maliciously, that's just how it's built. But you have to know that that's not true. In other words, when you hear yourself saying, or hear yourself even thinking, sometimes the body just takes over and I can't do anything about it, that's exactly, perfectly, and precisely the moment to stop yourself and go, wait a minute. That's not a fact. It's an opinion. It's a belief. It's a perspective. And I don't have to buy that as true. But negative beliefs will make themselves appear to be facts, appear to be true. You have to catch them in the moment and say, tricky little belief. I heard that coming out of my mouth. I heard that going through my head, and I almost fell for that. But I caught myself. So thank you for allowing me the practice to have more discernment over what really is and isn't a fact. Is this helping?
A lot.
All right.
Another layer of this
Yes.
experience is the fact that I've
Is
not...
the fact that?
Well, it's the
Is the belief that?
belief. Well,
It's a fact that you can have a belief if that's what you're saying.
okay. It's a belief that during my experience here, there seems to be a particular female template that helps me experience this negative cycle that we just talked about. And
All right. But if it helps you experience that, it must be doing it for a positive reason, yes?
But why that specific physical template? The eyes,
You
the hair,
must
everything.
need that template to teach you something about yourself.
I learned that I'm tired of this.
Maybe that's the lesson.
I was tired a long time ago.
Obviously not tired enough.
Yeah, I'm.
When you are
Old.
really sick and tired of being sick and tired, you will stop choosing to be sick and tired. Obviously, if it keeps happening, you're not tired enough. So keep doing it until you're really tired enough of it. Then you'll let it go. You'll realize that you don't need to keep doing it. Because you can only be doing it because you believe it serves you. Remember motivational mechanism?
Yes.
You can only experience what you believe serves you. So you must not be tired enough of it yet to let it go. And that's okay.
So there's no other reason that there will be that specific repetitive physical template. It's just an excuse, a permission slip for me to feel miserable.
Yep.
And it's working great. Is there a way I can slow down my aging process? There was somebody who...
By living in the moment. And you know how you live in the moment? You
Passion.
follow your passion to the best you can with no insistence or assumption as to what the outcome is supposed to be. That's how you accelerate your vibration, and by contrast, accelerating your vibration allows you to slow down and live in the moment. And that's how you become ageless.
Slowing down the molecular level of the aging process through
Be
meditation.
living in the moment. Because you know how when you're acting on your passion, it seems like time passes in a flash?
Yes.
You've had that experience?
Yes.
So if you are doing something you love to do and you're in that state of being and it appears like or feels like maybe 15 minutes has passed, when you look up and reconnect with the world and oh, it's been 2 hours or 3 hours. What you feel was the time that passed, the 15 minutes, is all you've actually aged. Even though you might reconnect with the world 3 hours later and catch up to the consensus reality of time, if you only experienced 15 minutes in that experience of joy, you have actually only aged 15 minutes. That's how you become ageless. You collapse time. You live in the moment. You don't experience as much time because you're not focusing on so many details that you need more time to focus on them. You're acting holistically. You're living more in the now, which is timeless.
But there's so many passionate people who age just like everybody else.
And that's okay. Just look at how they age, though. I'm not saying you won't mature. Even we mature, but we are not infirm. We are not diseased. We are still energetic. And many of you are too, no matter how old you are. You're getting more and more examples on your planet of people that are over 100 who can probably outdo you. So the idea is to understand that that's possible, understand it's becoming even more probable, and allow yourself not to focus on that needing to be the outcome, but just focus on living in the moment and let yourself age and mature naturally for you. Because there is still a reason for that to happen in your society to a certain degree. Now, that will become less and less and less necessary over time. And for some individuals, it may not be necessary at all at any age, in any time frame, in any era. But the idea is that if it does happen while you're living in the moment, then there's a reason for it to happen that serves you. So stop having the insistence that something shouldn't be happening. Just use what's happening in the most positive way you can. That's the point of this conversation. Yes?
Yes.
Does that help you?
A lot.
All right.
And one last thing.
Yes.
I feel like I'm absolutely ready to meet you in physical form.
You are not.
What happens if we do?
You will blow up.
And what happens if I'm okay with that?
Well, then, what purpose does that serve?
Well, I
What
guess we'll
purpose
find out.
does that serve? Tell me what purpose it serves.
What if we try in a lucid dream? Would that be...
In a lucid dream is fine.
So can we meet
Because
there?
that's a different dimensional vibration. And there is, shall we say, less probability that our higher vibration won't overwhelm your vibration and force to the surface the things that you may not be ready to integrate within your psyche yet. This conversation between us has happened because you're still working on yourself. Yes?
Yes.
You're still holding on to certain vibrations that are wholly incompatible with the vibrational frequency on which we operate. We operate 10 times faster than you. It would burn you out. Therefore, the idea of incorporating this information is what allows you to accelerate yourself and become more vibrationally compatible. But the idea of being in another dimension, in what you call the lucid dream, that acts as a buffer. It's another reality that allows us to be more vibrationally compatible without negative effect to you in terms of your physical journey. And obviously, you are still on your physical journey and still exploring the idea of belief systems within you that don't serve you. And therefore, it would not really serve you for us to interact in your physical reality at this time. Please understand, we've done this before. We know what we're talking about. And we will do nothing that in any way, shape, or form, from our perspective, in our experience, would bring any degree of harm to you. So we cannot do that yet. But there will be potentially a time in which that could happen. The more you live in the moment, the more you accelerate your vibration, the more you become vibrationally compatible with us. And so in time, in perfect timing, then something like that could happen. You need to increase the probability by being more of yourself first. That's the process. That's contact. But you're having contact right now anyway. So the idea of physical contact with us can't be made to seem better than the kind of contact we're having right now. This is how it works. And you have to simply trust that we know what we're doing. All right?
I trust you. Thank you.
Our unconditional love to you. Pleasant dreams.